Hello and welcome back to Scratch Golf Academy. I'm Anthony Vessecchia. I'm a TPI Level 3 Certified Golf Fitness Instructor. And today I'm going to take you guys through basically a stretch routine that I like to do in the evenings. This is going to be obviously geared towards golf. I like to do this also sometimes in the morning or before I play or before I leave to go play a round of golf. So this is just something I would do at home or if I'm just tight from working out from the week. So this is kind of going to be the routine that I like to go through that'll work my hips, my shoulders, my back, kind of every part of my body that would be involved in needing mobility for golf. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and please hit that notification button so you can continue to get some of these videos. All right, so the first one we're going to do, we're going to use a foam roller. This is a 36-inch foam roller. I'm going to lie on the foam roller with my rear end at one end and my head at the other. And I'm going to go through a series of things. I have the microphone on my head. If you're wondering what that is on my hat, it's because I don't want to roll over the microphone that's usually on my waistband while I'm doing some of these stretches. So the first one I'm going to do, this is a lat stretch. So the object here is you're getting your lats to stretch. You're also getting a good amount of extension through your thoracic spine as well. So I like to hold this for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to take you guys all the way through it. So hopefully if you're following along, you're just laying there too, and you're doing your 30-second hold here. Now, the reason that I like to do this stretch too is because I have a tendency to come over the top during my golf swing or a small early extension because I'll take too big of a backswing to the ability that my lats can actually stretch. So sometimes you'll see me hold 3-pound weights or something in my hand here so that it gets even more stretched so I can get my thumbs down towards the floor. And if your lats are nice and loose, you will have a tendency to not get into that early extension or come over the top. Your body tries to alleviate that tightness by basically standing up during the downswing, so that can become an issue. Now, once I've done 30 seconds of this, I'm going to go out to a tee. Now, this one's going to stretch out my pecs. I tend to get tight in my chest area because of the amount of weightlifting that I do, so I like to counter that with a stretch similar to this, sometimes up with the TRX, but for this case, it's just nice and comfortable to lay on this foam roller and get that stretch in my thoracic spine while I'm also getting the stretch through my pecs as well. So I'll hold this for 30 seconds. After I finish this 30-second hold here, and all the while I'm doing this, I keep my lower back pushed down into the foam roller. That way it's forcing even more extension into my thoracic spine. If you're somebody that's very tight in your thoracic spine in this position, you have a hard time getting your head down because it's pushing your thoracic spine in. And if you don't have good mobility in that, it's going to lift your head up because you're going to stay slightly rounded. You're welcome to take a pillow or something and put that under your head. I would suggest that instead of trying to hold your head up and being like this while you're on it. Find something where you can still feel the stretch. Your head is lifted, and over time, slowly make whatever that is smaller and smaller. So now that we've finished that pec stretch, we're going to go right here, and we're going to do a 90-90 shoulder stretch or mobility drill. So I'm going to put my arms out like this, straight out from my shoulder, and I'm going to keep my arms bent at 90 degrees here, and I'm going to rotate to the floor 10 times. 6, 8. Some people have a tendency to move their hands towards their head like that when they do it. Try not to do that. It's just your brain trying to cheat a little bit, because if your hands move close to you, it goes out of sight, so your brain thinks you went further, but you didn't. Then the next one is going to be an external rotation here. I'm going to keep that same 90-degree bend. I'm going to pin my elbows to my rib cage, and I'm going to rotate out to the sides for 10. And when you're doing this, you're going to feel a pretty big squeeze in your shoulder blades as well. Again, try to keep that lumbar down while you're doing it. So keep your abs engaged here and push down. And I'm going to do 10 here. I have no idea what number I'm at because I'm talking, but I'm going to give myself 2 more. And then from there, I like to go back in one more time into that lat stretch just because I really need it. And most people do, especially people that have office jobs or, sit rounded over a desk. You'll tend to get a shortening of your lats and a rounding of your thoracic spine, which can also start to cause some neck pain and headaches as well. So this can also sometimes help alleviate that. Once I've done that, I will then turn the foam roller perpendicular to my spine. And I'm not going to necessarily roll out here. What I'm going to do is put my hands right here behind my neck like this. And I'm going to try to get to the point where I can slide down enough to get my lumbar down on the floor. And this may only be a 2 or 3 inch movement. And I'm going to try to drive my elbows that direction. And I'm going to try to keep my lower back down. A lot of people will arch their back and go like that. I want you to try to keep your lower back on the floor. So keep your abs engaged while you do this. Try to force your elbows that way. You're going to really feel this in your spine between your shoulder blades. So in your thoracic spine or maybe in your mid back as well. Because that's what we're trying to get extension in is your thoracic spine. So I'm going to do 10 of those and I'm really going to try to push my elbows in that direction. Good. Now once I've finished 10 of those, I'm now going to just kind of stretch into my lower back. Let me move this to the side so you can see. So I'm going to now lie on my back, and I'm just going to let my feet drop to the right. I'm going to lay here for 30 seconds. If you want to, like I like to do here sometimes just to give a little bit more, I'll put my hand on my knee and just give it a little pull down so I can feel a little more stretch. When I do that, I don't just feel it here, my lumbar spine. It starts to go into my glute a little bit when I push down. So I like to do that as well. Hold that for 30. And these stretches you can hold for a minute as well. It just really, it comes down to how much time you want to spend on it. Longer you hold it, the more you can relax into it, the more your brain will allow you to get into that position a little bit easier the next time you do it. It's all about your proprioception. Some people say like static stretching is not good for you, but you know what? I just think it feels good, so I'm going to do it. And whatever you think feels good and works well for you, then you should do that as long as it's improving your life. But we are also doing mobility drills here today too. We're not just stretching the entire time. So once I've held the 30 seconds on the other side, now I'm going to move into open book. So I'm going to turn all the way on my side. I'm going to be a 90-degree bend here. I'm going to hold my top knee down. I'm not going to allow my hip to drive back. I'm going to try to get all this motion from my spine. So when I go this way, I'm going to try to get my shoulder blade. I'm really tight in my back today to touch the floor behind me without letting my hip roll. If I do that, then I can easily get there. So I'm going to keep this stacked and I'm going to do 10 of these. My back is a little tight today because I did some heavy front squats or Zercher squats yesterday, and just from holding the load made my back a little sore. So it's just tight, regular muscle soreness. Okay, once I do 10 on that side, I'm going to turn over and I'm going to do 10 on the other. If you're asking why I cross my foot here, or you're wondering, that's just also another way to try to hold my top leg down. Good. And now once I've done those, I'm going to now start to work on my hips. So this one is going to be a hip 90-90. I'm going to spread my feet out like this. You guys have probably seen these in previous videos. I'm going to show you the easier way to do it, which is to drop with your hands behind you if your hips aren't that mobile, and then go over and then move yourself down over your knee. And then you can put your hands behind you again and then roll to the other side. Now, to get more mobility out of your hip, then you want to try to do it without putting your hands down until you go down into the glute stretch or the pigeon, basically. And I'm going to give myself 16 of these, so I get 8 on each side. I'm going to completely guess and say that was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now this next one, I like to do with a lot of golfers. This really gets into the hips as well. I actually did a lot of this when I did Muay Thai, or it's a form of kickboxing for those of you that aren't versed in it. It's a pretty intense stretch for your hips. So you're going to spread your knees out as far as you can. And then you're going to drop down to your elbows. And on this, I want you to keep your feet out here. If you bring them in really close, you don't get the same stretch in your hips and in your groin. So you keep your knees out, it hurts a little more. And what you're going to do is you're going to push back towards your heels 10 times. So that's 1, 2, and you can notice I can't really go far because I don't do this stretch enough anymore. 3, 4, 5, 6. The next ones get way worse. 7. Well, I don't know, guess way worse. Depends on where you're flexible. Good. And then now, after you do 10 of those, you're going to take your right leg out, keep this knee where it was, drop back down to your elbows if you can. If you have to stay in this position because it's very tight for you, that's fine. And we're going to rock back 10 times here. 1. So you're going to feel this in your hamstring too, but a lot through here in that same hip area. 4, 5, 6, and we're going to take it nice and smooth. 7, start to work up sweat. 8, 9, and 10. Then we'll take it to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that is a frog stretch with some hamstring stretch involved as well. Now we're going to go into a press up to child pose. So you're going to lay flat on the floor to begin. For this press up, I want your hands all the way up here by your ears, and we're going to press and kind of push away from yourself and let your shoulder blades squeeze together. I'm going to hold that for about 10 seconds. Squeeze those shoulder blades, drop them down if you want to. And then we're going to rock into child pose. Hold that for 10. And then we'll go back into that press up. And back into child pose. And good. And I forgot one piece. I'm going to grab, I'll be right back. I just want to grab a ball. So after I finish those child pose, then I like to go ahead and grab a stability ball and go into a prayer stretch as well. So now this one is going to be stretching the lats again like we did when we were on the foam roller at the very beginning. I just like to get a little bit more once I finish that position there. And then from here, if you need this for balance, you can keep it with you. But then we're going to move into this stretch. I call this the half kneeling, nose to knee. If you can put both hands on the floor like this, do so. If you can get all the way down, do so. And let's hold that for 30. Then we'll switch to the other leg. And I just sped that one up a little bit. Now the last one that I like to do is a kneeling quad stretch. It's also going to stretch your psoas, which is a muscle up here in your hip. I'm going to use this. You can use something higher like that ball, or some people like to put their foot on a bench. I'm just going to use this today. It's not going to be as intense of a stretch, but for a lot of you, this is going to be plenty. I'm going to use the foam roller too for balance. So what you do is you put your foot up on here like this. The other foot's going to go out in front. Important piece here is that you want to tuck your pelvis under. Just the same way we're pushing our lower back into the foam roller, you're going to want to do that here. So you're going to tuck, keep your abs tight, and then you're going to rock forward. Because you don't want to arch your back, because then that completely takes some of the stretch away here. So you want to tuck under, rock forward, and you'll feel a good stretch here through your quad. You'll also feel it right here, up in your hip a little bit more for your psoas major. And the psoas muscle attaches here to your front of your femur, and it goes through and hooks to the subside of your spine, so the inside. And a lot of times when you do this stretch, some people that do have some lower back pain, it can help alleviate that too. They don't realize that it goes all the way through and attaches back there. So sometimes this can be the cause of some lower back pain. Not always, but could be. So the stretch could alleviate some of that. Then we're going to switch after 30-second hold there. We're going to go to the other side. And from there, that is pretty much how I finish that quick stretch routine. So that took maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. It's just a good one to do in the morning or in the evening before bed, or when you first wake up, or if you're about to head out and play golf, just something to get you a little warmed up and then get out there. And I have a video on here as well that'll take you through a nice warm up while you're on the range getting ready before you start hitting balls too. So please check back on that. If you guys need it linked in below, then I could easily do that for you. Just put it in the comment that you need it, and stay tuned. I'll bring you more content.